Inna Allah ma'a sabirin. We need to understand that we live in a imperfect world, in a world filled with flaws, downfalls, shortcomings, and disappointments. This is the dunya. No person can assume this dunya to be Jannah. For anyone who's assumed such has been greatly disappointed. Because the reality of this dunya was not to be a life of eternity or a paradise, a heavenly abode. It's merely a ground of test, a plane of test, a venue in which we are to do the best that we can through the help and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in trying to achieve our ultimate goal, and that is the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the adherence of the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Understand another principle. Sometimes we see people succeed in life whereas they're not Muslims to begin with, but yet seemingly they're so successful. And then when we try to copy or mimic their plan of action to see if we can succeed as well, and we try but we fail. And you wonder, what did I do wrong? I did the exact same thing so-and-so was doing for that many years with that much, say, investment. Exact same thing, but how is it that this man happened to be successful and I, on the other hand, failed miserably? The criteria for a believer and a non-believer is different. The criteria, the standard of a believer and a non-believer is different. Never put yourself in the shoes of a non-believer and hope to succeed. Why? Because this world is temporary. We weren't meant for this dunya. This dunya was meant for us, whereas we are meant for the akhirah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may give success to a non-Muslim based on his effort in this dunya, but there is no share for this man in the akhirah. Whereas for a believer, you may have a share of this dunya, but the bigger share awaits you in the akhirah. And even if you're not able to gain the share of this dunya, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Why? Because a greater reward awaits you in the akhirah. And this is something we need to understand, that the criteria for success when it comes to a believing man or woman is different for a non-believer. A non-believer may go to the casino and roll the dice and win the jackpot, and seemingly may live a happily life, happily ever after. This is a non-Muslim, but a Muslim going to a casino, rolling the dice, even if he wins the jackpot, nothing but misery awaits. Nothing but difficulty and sorrow and problem after problem awaits. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has limited our reach as to what we can do in this dunya and how we can approach it. It's not for taking, it's not for grabbing, it's not winner takes all. We have limitations. There are things we can do and things we cannot. There are things we can consume and eat and things we cannot, whereas a non-believer can do anything. Because for us, this dunya is merely a testing ground. For us, this dunya truly should be, in actual sense, a prison where it could be Jannah for the non-believer, but not for a Muslim. Subhanallah, one of the scholars, he writes beautifully an example of how a believer is compared to a non-Muslim. Take an example of a rope. And say there is a person at the bottom of a well. There is a person at the bottom of a well. If I can give an example of a well, or say a different lower ground level floor, and you throw this rope from the second floor window, and you tell the man that if you want to climb up, climb up. Or take the example of the well, that's more suitable. You throw the rope down, tell the person, grab onto the rope and I'll pull you up. And the person says, sure. and a person grabs onto the rope with the help of the one who's pulling him up, along with the medium of the rope and some of effort of the man being pulled up himself, he'll come out. Now there's a bystander who's watching. It's like, huh. And he starts to think that this entire marvel, this entire miracle that happened, that took place, it was the magic of the rope. Okay? It's the trick of the rope. It's the doing of the rope. This rope is, because of this rope, it all happened. Okay? Pause for a moment. Now, another scenario. There's a person who's sitting on top of a tree branch, and he's scared to come down. He's scared, afraid to come down. That very bystander who first saw someone throwing the rope down so that a person can be pulled up says, I have an idea. I know the solution. I can come to this man's help. He grabs the same rope, he throws it up, he says, grab onto it and come down. The rope for a Muslim is we grab and we come up. Not the other way around where we grab and are pulled down. The criteria for a believing man and woman is different than a non-Muslim. Do you understand the example that the scholar gave? That, do you think it was the rope all along? It's also about the situation, the scenario, and whether the rope is thrown downwards and then you're being pulled up. It's not that, okay, someone's at a higher height, you throw the rope and you say, grab it and hold on tight, and then you yank him. No, that's different. So subhanAllah, for a believing man or a woman, we have tests in this dunya. There are limitations. We can't do certain things, we can't say certain things, we're limited based on our action, but nonetheless, we need to understand and realize this dunya was not meant for eternity, rather it's a temporary abode, and we need to do the best we can in this dunya by surviving, by getting through, and then ultimately, inshallah, arriving at our eternal abode, our home, final destination, Jannah. So while we're still in dunya, how do we get by it? Because again, this dunya is filled with disappointments, it's filled with faults, shortcomings. Whatever you do, at the end of the day, you truly can't really have it your way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructs us within the Quran that you are to get by this world, through this life, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ, through the assistance of being patient and holding firm upon your prayer. Two things: patience and seeking assistance through your salah. Now comes the real point. When things aren't going the way we'd hoped for them to go, what's the first thing we end up doing? Generally speaking, we think to ourselves, I'm not working hard enough. If I'm not living a comfortable life, that means I need to work, I need to give in a few extra hours. Right? I need to double my time up, do a double shift, earn more so that I could be in a better financial grounds or a standing. But where we fail to forget is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a key crucial point in our faith: seek assistance through sabr and through salah. How often is it that at time of need we rush and run to salah? Rarely is that the case. How often is it at time of need we give sadaqah? How often is it that at time of need we try to do a kind or give, a kind gesture, a good action? Rarely. Whereas that's the core. That is what we should be doing. And exercising patience is a must. If you recall some nights ago, the lecture on how we become so impatient. The reason being is we want immediate results. We want everything immediately, right away. I cannot afford to wait. I just have to have it now. And subhanAllah, children have that tendency and adults have it too, right? And think about it. Children, when they want something, what do? They cry for it. And they keep crying. They're not going to stop until they're given it. Right? Or wrong? And as adults, we're like, you know what, fine, here you go. Take it. And then the child stops crying. And the child learns a valuable lesson. Next time I want something, I just need to kind of open my mouth, make a sound, and keep crying until I'm given it. Because it worked now, it would work in the future. SubhanAllah. Whereas adults have different ways of, going on with their way. But either way, for us, patience and salah. That is a key point patience and salah. And subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, in Allah ma'a sabirin, Allah is with those who are patient. And we know that this dunya will not deliver immediate results. It will not. And not only that, if subhanallah we're going through a difficult time, just remain patient, continue to pray before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, continue to make your dua, as all of your du'as are heard. It's not that they're not heard or they're going in vain. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is as-sami'. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-basir. We on our part make sure to continue in doing what's the bare minimum, and that's adherence to our faith, Quran and Sunnah. And the moment we get sidetracked, then regardless of how mighty of a man you may be, but the moment a train gets off the track, it will not be able to pull. Right? You have the engine, the main engine, and I'm sure some of you, if you've ever stopped at a railroad crossing, subhanallah, you have one main engine pulling hundreds, if not thousands of containers. And you wonder to yourself, how much power does this one engine have for it to be able to pull hundreds and thousands of containers? So at that moment, think about it. It's not just the power of the engine isn't enough. It's also the engine being on the track. Imagine you take that main engine, put it on the ground, on the dirt. You can multiply the power, give it an additional 1,000 horsepower. It's not going anywhere. For as long as the engine remains on track, it will pull, regardless of how much weight there is in the back. It will pull. For us as Muslims, we need to remain upon our iman, upon Quran and Sunnah, and regardless of what this world throws at us, we'll just pull it. We'll get by it. It won't stop us. It won't bring us to a halt. But the moment we feel that, you know what, maybe I can do things differently. Maybe, Islam is really a religion of ease and peace and, easygoing, so I don't have to pray today, or I don't have to fulfill this obligation. What you're doing at that moment is you're getting off the track. Regardless of how mighty and kind and good of a soul you may be, you're not moving. You're not going anywhere, because you just put yourself on dirt, on mud. And we were designed to be on Siratul Mustaqim, that railroad, that straight path. And subhanallah, in the month of Ramadan, mashallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us that, that energy that's needed to go out of our way in making sure we draw closer to Allah, that we draw near to Him. If we spend this month right, then inshallah it will enable and give us that strength and energy to continue on until the next Ramadan. So it's in brief, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ, seek assistance through patience and through salah. Rasulullah's habit, at a time of need, he would run and rush to salah. Try that. Make it a routine. Before you go and knock on someone's door in hoping that your need may be fulfilled through this person, no harm in asking. Look, we live within a world of means. We live in a world of means. The hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the best of you are those who are the most beneficial to others. But before you knock on that door, knock on the door of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by offering 2 rak'ah salah. I'll end with this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He mentions that if a problem ever arises or a need ever arises for a believer, then let him perform ablution, do wudu, and do so in a great manner, in a good manner. And after having done wudu, offer 2 rak'ah of salah, and pray those 2 rak'ah salah, and after the 2 rak'ah salah, make this dua. It's a lengthy dua, if I'm not mistaken. La ilaha illallah al-alim al-halim, subhanallah rabbil arsh al-kareem, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, as'aluka mujibati rahmatik wa azaima maghfiratik, والغنيمة من كل بر والسلامة من كل إثم لا تدع لي ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا حاجة هي لك رضا إلا قضيتها يا أرحم الراحمين. You recite this dua, and before you recite this dua, He mentions, you praise, glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you can do that through any way. Subhanallah, Ya Rabbana lak alhamd, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Then you recite salawat al Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, followed by this dua, and He mentions, whatever your need may be, it will be fulfilled. SubhanAllah, it will be fulfilled. I'll end here. I don't want to carry on for too long. What's the point and purpose of insurance? You tell me. There's insurance for everything, isn't there? For your car, You drive your car without insurance and you get pulled over, you're definitely paying premium, right? And then there's home insurance, car insurance, health insurance, subhanAllah, nearly insurance for everything, anything and everything. Life insurance, you can ask Muhammad about that one, right? But the point is, a peace of mind, right or wrong, I'm covered. Peace of mind. Allah forbid if accidents happen or something goes amiss or out of place, I'm covered. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is offering us a guaranteed means of insurance. No one's taking it. We're not even applying for it. And we're settling with that very lower standard of this dunya. We're thinking full coverage is truly full coverage. No. Full coverage. There's no such thing as full coverage in this dunya. No such thing. Whether your insurance policy has it in fine print that fully covered bumper to bumper, no, you're not. They'll always get you. Oh, sorry, that one clause you missed out on, we won't include. It's not covered by your insurance. Like, what was I paying full coverage for? This dunya, this is how deceitful this dunya is. Allah, on the other hand, is offering full coverage, but no one's taking it. Subhanallah, for free. For free. Very little effort involved. For you to just, make the call. Make the call. And a last note, inshallah, for the evening, for the night. Make a habit of having Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a speed dial. Long ago, when cell phones first came out, it was a really, cool feature. Oh, wow, I don't have to type in like 9 digits or 10 digits to be able to dial somebody. Then you have an option of putting your contacts on your favorite list. So a quick phone call, you have someone on the list, just press and the call goes. And then there's something else which is called the speed dial. Like I remember I did that, for example, like I saved my dad's number and I pressed number 1. So every time I press the digit 1, it will call right away. We need to have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on speed dial for our needs, and you will not be disappointed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us understanding his deen. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تبارك وتعالى على خير خلق محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.